Revealed, Billionaire discovers life-changing connection after an unexpected one-hug encounter. Jake Sullivan stood on the edge of his penthouse balcony, overlooking the city he had conquered. The sprawling skyline was a testament to his success, yet a heavy emptiness clawed at his chest. Everything felt hollow since his mom passed away. She always said real success was about kindness and community, not just money. Those words echoed in his mind, pushing him out of his gilded cage and back to the streets of his childhood in Philadelphia. Stepping onto familiar streets, a wave of nostalgia hit him. The vibrant sounds of street performers filled the air, and the mouth-watering aroma of homemade food lured him in. Each corner held memories of laughter and love, now faded under the weight of hardship. It was like stepping into a living painting, alive yet marred by struggles. His heart pounded with both joy and grief. This was his home, and he was a stranger now. As he wandered, he spotted Maria, an indomitable single mother hustling to make ends meet. She darted in and out of the community center, her hands full of flyers and her face set with determination. She spoke passionately about the struggles around them, clutching onto hope for a better future. Watching her warmth and resilience struck a chord deep within Jake. The stories she shared of neighbors rising up against despair filled him with inspiration. That night, while the moonlight cast soft shadows, everything changed. In a moment of vulnerability, overwhelmed by unacknowledged grief, Jake reached out and hugged her tightly. It was spontaneous, unexpected. Maria stiffened for a moment, but then melted into his embrace, allowing them both to share their weight, hers from daily struggles, his from wealth and isolation. The warmth between them ignited something inside Jake, a flicker of connection, and for the first time, he felt alive. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Back at his lavish estate, he was met by his brother David, whose skeptical eyes pierced through Jake's resolve. "What are you doing, Jake?" David asked, his voice a mixture of confusion and concern. "You've built a legacy. Our roots are carved in hard work, not charity. Don't lose yourself." Each word felt like a punch to Jake's gut, igniting tension within him. While he designed plans to uplift the community, he was met with doubt. Some residents questioned his sincerity. "Can a billionaire truly understand our pain?" they whispered. Doubts swirled like storm clouds around him, thickening the air. Jake wrestled with his identity. The community didn't see him as a benefactor but as an outsider wearing tailored suits. The crossroads loomed large. Could he bridge the gap between his wealthy existence and Maria's gritty reality? As emotion surged, he felt a fire in his belly rising to an inevitable confrontation with David. Old grievances erupted, exposing the vulnerabilities he tried to bury. Then, standing before the community in a tense meeting that could redefine everything, Jake felt his heart race. Would they see his sincerity? Or would the ghosts of his past always haunt him? The room fell silent, anticipation crackling like electricity in the air. Could the billionaire find his place in this fight for community? As he opened his mouth to speak, the weight of uncertainty lingered. What would happen next? Jake stood at the podium, the eyes of the community glued to him, each face a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. The tension wrapped around him like a thick fog, and he could feel the heat of uncertainty radiating from the crowd. Seconds stretched into eternity as he fought against the knot in his stomach and the impassioned rush of thoughts in his mind. "Thank you for being here," he finally managed, his voice shaky but earnest. "I know I've failed to be part of this community until now. But I want to change that. I've seen the struggles you face, and I've been inspired by your strength. I'm here to listen, to learn, and to help." A murmur rippled through the audience. Jake caught Maria's eye, a flicker of support in her gaze, and it steadied him. He pressed on, his heartbeat steadying as conviction coursed through him. I want to create opportunities, not just donations. I want to work alongside you, to build something that lasts. My mom taught me that real wealth is measured in connections, not dollars. The room remained silent, the air thick with doubt, but there was a subtle shift, a small crack opening in the wall of resistance. A voice from the back shouted, "What do you know about our struggles, Jake? You've been living a life of luxury." Jake grimaced. He knew this was coming. "You're right," he replied, feeling the weight of those words. "I can't change that I come from money. But I can change how I use it. I never knew what it meant to fight for each day, and it's time I understand." He paused, swallowing hard. "I want to help create a pathway for kids here not just to survive, but to thrive. I can't do it alone, so I'm asking for your guidance." A woman near the front raised her hand. "And what about your brother? Will he be on board with this?" Jake felt a surge of frustration. David had always been the anchor in his life, and now he felt like a weight dragging him down. "David doesn't see this vision like I do, but I believe it can change. If there's a way to make this happen, I'll make it work." He glanced over at the flickering lights as the crowd continued to hum and shift. Slowly, a few heads began to nod. "Talk is easy." Another voice called out. "Prove it." He took a deep breath, his palms clammy against the podium. "What if we organize workshops? Find work placements for kids? We can fund a community garden and maybe even a scholarship program." There was a ripple again, folks leaning in, intrigued but still wary. This was it, he thought, the moment of truth. "Why should we believe you?" came Maria's voice, calm yet firm, cutting through the noise. Everyone turned to her, awaiting her next words. "Because," she said, her level gaze fixed on Jake, "it's the first step that counts. You took the first step to embrace your vulnerability the night you hugged me. Can you take another step and follow through? Prove to us your sincerity through action, not just words." Jake nodded, her words resonating deep within him. "That's my intention. I promise to kickstart this project myself. I'll be here volunteering at the center every week. You'll see me out there in the community," he said, a fierce determination igniting in his chest. Cheers erupted from some, while others remained hesitant. The fine line between hope and skepticism tangled in the air. A small flame had been lit in the room, but would it be enough to spark a wildfire of change? As the meeting came to a close, Jake stepped down from the podium, his heart racing. He caught up with Maria, feeling the need to share his thoughts. What if they don't believe me? What if David is right? She met his gaze, her expression softening. "You've already changed by taking this step. The real question is, are you ready to fight for it?" Jake hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes. More than ever." As they walked side by side, the night air filled with a newfound sense of purpose, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest part was still ahead. The looming doubts felt like shadows trailing behind him. What would his brother say? Could they truly unite the community under his vision? As he pushed open the door to the community center, a fire flickered in his belly, kindled by hope but marred with uncertainty. He had embarked on this journey tonight, but at what cost? And could he really cross the bridge into a world that was unfamiliar and fraught with challenges? The night was just beginning, and so was his fight. Jake stepped outside, the cool night air brushing against his skin and grounding him. As he took a deep breath, he could still feel the electricity from the meeting buzzing around him. The shadows of doubt fluttered in his mind, but there was a flicker of something else too, a small ember of hope igniting against the uncertainty. Maria walked beside him, her presence offering a comforting weight. "You really think they will come around?" she asked, her voice steady like a lighthouse in a storm. "I hope so. I have to believe they will, Jake replied, raking his fingers through his hair. But I know it won't be easy. David's doubt is like a mountain hovering over me. He shook his head, trying to shake off the apprehension. He has always been my anchor, but maybe it's time to break free, to find my own way. Maria stopped and turned to him, her eyes sharp as they bore into his. If David can't see the same future you do, you might need to find your path without his approval. Sometimes, hope means standing alone. That thought sat heavy in Jake's chest. He wasn't just worried about disappointing his brother, he was afraid of failure to himself, to the community, to Maria. What if I'm not enough? He murmured, staring at the pavement, the weight of those words sinking deep. Every change starts somewhere. Remember that. Maria's smile was genuine, radiating warmth that seeped into his insecurities. You've got this passion in you. Let it fuel you. He looked up, a smile instinctively breaking over his face. No more running away. It was time to embrace the unknown. Okay. Let us do this. The next morning, Jake found himself at the community center, a folder of plans and ideas clutched tight to his chest. He took a moment, soaking in the sight of the center bustling with life. Children darted around, laughing. Parents chatted while the scent of coffee filled the air. This was a place of connection, everything he longed to build. Hey, Jake. A kid named Marcus called out, a playful grin stretching from ear to ear. What were you doing here? Jake knelt down to meet Marcus's wide-eyed enthusiasm. I'm here to show you something awesome. How would you feel about creating the best community garden ever? At first, Marcus cocked his head, confused. Garden? Like flowers? No way. Jake laughed. I mean vegetables, fruits, everything. Imagine eating tomatoes and cucumbers you grew right here. The boy's eyes sparkled with wonder, and soon he was bouncing on his toes. Can we plant a pumpkin? I want the biggest one. Yes. And we'll make it a contest. Jake's heart soared as the boy's excitement grew. As other kids gathered around, they began to share their ideas. What started as a hesitant conversation spiraled into something contagious, filled with laughter and shouts of enthusiasm. Minutes turned into hours, and the laughter felt like music weaving through the air, a sweet symphony of hope. Suddenly, the door swung open, and David stepped inside. His brows furrowed as he took in the scene before him, disbelief etched across his face. What is going on here? Jake froze for a moment, the tide of his joy receding, nervousness washing in. This was the confrontation he both dreaded and anticipated. Would he see glimpses of the brother he admired or the disapproving voice that haunted him? Just getting things started. Jake replied, feigning confidence. The kids continued to chatter excitedly around him, the energy palpable. David crossed his arms, skepticism shadowing his expression. You really think this will work? That they'll follow you? Jake felt the tightening knot returning, but he pushed against it. I have to believe it. I'm willing to put in the effort, David. Is that so hard to accept? His brother looked conflicted, frustration battling with concern. As the two stood there, Jake fighting for his vision and David wrestling with his doubts, the children laughed and played all around them. Everything hung in the balance. Are you ready to join this fight with me? Jake finally asked, his voice steady. David hesitated, his gaze drifting from Jake to the enthusiastic kids. What would his answer be? In that moment, Jake realized that whether together or alone, the battle for change was just beginning. But could he earn his brother's support before everything fell apart? The air crackled with unanswered questions, and Jake held his breath, waiting for the chance to heal their fractured bond. David looked between Jake and the kids, and for a moment, silence filled the room. Jake's heart pounded in his chest, and he could sense the anticipation hanging thick in the air. Finally, David shifted his weight, his brow softening slightly. "Look, I get that you're passionate, but nothing." Jake interjected, the frustration bubbling to the surface. "You've always been the one to have everything figured out. I'm trying to make a change, David. Don't you see? This isn't just about me anymore, it's about them." He gestured emphatically at the kids, their faces alight with excitement. "They're just kids," David said, his voice carrying a hint of vulnerability. "How do you know this is what they really want?" "Because they're excited. They're dreaming." Jake shot back, his voice rising. "Look how they light up when they talk about what they can grow. This is their chance to learn, and we can help them create something real. Isn't that what we wanted as kids?" David's jaw clenched as he struggled internally. Jake could see it, the faint flicker of understanding, battling against years of skepticism. "I just don't want you to get hurt," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want you to fail." Jake felt his heart soften. This was David, always protective, always concerned. "I know you care. I appreciate it, but I need you to trust me. We can do this together." The kids were gathering around them now, their energy wrapping around the brothers like a vibrant tapestry. Marcus looked up at David, his innocent face serious. "You should help us, mister. It's going to be awesome." The corners of David's mouth twitched as he made eye contact with Marcus. Something shifted within him. Jake held his breath, praying that this was the moment where everything could change. Okay, David relented, raising his hands as a signal of surrender. "I'll help. But you better be ready for a lot of work, and a lot of questions." Cheers erupted from the kids, and Jake felt the knot in his chest loosen, replaced by a warmth spreading through him. David was here, willing to step into the unknown with him. "Let's get started then," Jake said, the thrill surging through him as he turned to the kids. "Who's ready to plant some seeds?" A chorus of me erupted around him, and Jake couldn't help but laugh. They rushed to grab tools and soil, their excitement building with every passing second. He glanced back at David, who stood there, arms crossed but a hint of a smile creeping onto his face. As everyone dove into the work, Jake felt a rush of hope for the first time in what felt like forever. Maybe, just maybe, they could create something beautiful right here, a garden, a community, and maybe even a bridge back to his brother. An hour passed in a blur of laughter, dirt, and joy. The garden began to take shape, each child plotting out their space, chatting excitedly about the vegetables they'd grow. Jake turned, feeling the sun's warmth against his back, a reminder of the change they were all cultivating. But before he could revel in his victory, a familiar face appeared at the door, his father, looking concerned. The moment he entered, the laughter fell silent. Jake's heart sank. His father had a way of silencing rooms with just his presence. "Jake," his father said, his tone grave. "We need to talk." The air thickened with worry, and Jake felt his stomach twist. What could his father want now? The laughter faded into a distant memory as he realized there were still battles to face, challenges lurking just beyond the garden's bright facade. As he took a step towards his father, anxiety gnawed at him. Would this be a setback, or could this be another chance for growth? What awaited him may change everything he dreamed of for his community, and for his family. Jake's heart raced, a familiar mix of dread and defiance pulsing through him. His father's stern expression sent a shiver down his spine. This wasn't the time for a confrontation, not with David finally on board, not with the children's joy illuminating the room. "Can it wait, Dad?" Jake asked, desperation slipping into his voice. "I have people counting on me right now." "Jake, this is serious," his father pressed, stepping further into the light. The tension in the air thickened, each breath an effort. "I'm not here to disrupt what you're doing, but we need to talk about your future." The kids were still busy planting, oblivious to the escalating storm brewing just a few feet away. Jake wanted to shield them from the heaviness that flowed between the adults. What about my future? This is it. He gestured toward the backyard. This is the most important thing I've done in years. But his father's eyes softened just a bit, as if wrestling with the shadow of regret. You've always had big dreams, Jake. You know I've supported you not in the ways that mattered, he interrupted, anger flaring within him. Memories of unfulfilled expectations flashed through his mind. Don't you think it would have been better if you actually believed in what I was trying to do? Please, his father's frustration flared, but he steadied himself. Let us at least talk about the scholarship offer. A wave of mixed emotions crashed over Jake. The prestigious scholarship had been laid out in front of him months ago, the chance for a brighter future. His father believed it was the answer to all Jake's struggles. But how could he accept when his passion was right here in these children, in the dirt beneath his fingernails and the raw laughter bursting around him? You think a scholarship will fix everything? He said, struggling to make himself understood. I don't want to escape or run away. What I want is to make an impact, Dad. With every word, David watched with growing concern. As much as he wanted to support Jake, he could feel the weight of their father's history bearing down on them both. He took a step closer, caught between his brother's fiery spirit and their father's daunting authority. Maybe he just wants what's best for you, Jake, David interjected softly. But you're the one who knows what's best for you. His words were simple but laden with empathy, a lifeline thrown into the current of Jake's turmoil. Best for me? Jake scoffed, gesturing to David as if to draw strength from him. Do you really think he knows what that is, standing there in his suit while I'm here trying to raise a garden? Their father's jaw tightened, the chasm between them widened. I'm trying to help you with your future, not control it. Can't you see? The need for connection was palpable, and Jake felt his resolve slipping. What if this was more than just an argument about his dreams? What if he could turn this moment into something profound, a moment of understanding, a moment to bridge the gap that had formed between them? He took a deep breath and lowered his voice. What if I told you that what I'm doing right now, the garden, these kids, it's my future? Silence hung heavy in the air. David stood quietly, the children's giggles fading into the background as if they were miles away. Jake's heart surged with emotion. Trust me, Dad. Let us talk about this together. You might learn something, he said, the last words a challenge wrapped in hope. But the haunted look in his father's eyes told Jake that resolving old wounds wouldn't be easy. What lay ahead could alter everything he had fought for. With his heart pounding, he braced himself for a conversation that might just redefine their family. As he prepared to listen to the stories of their past, Jake feared the truth hidden in the shadows. Would his father open up and allow this opportunity for growth, or would fear reignite old divisions? And just as he was about to take that step into uncharted territory, an unexpected sound sliced through the tension, the excited chatter of the kids, their laughter drawing him back to the garden. Would he choose to embrace the happiness in front of him or face the ghosts of his past? The choice hung in the balance, and Jake's heart ached for the right path to reveal itself. Jake's breath hitched as the children's laughter washed over him like a bomb, pulling him from the brink of turmoil. He turned to see little Mia, hands caked in soil, grinning up at him. Her enthusiasm was like a light cutting through the darkness of his father's looming presence. Mr. Jake. Look! She squealed, holding up a small sprout. It's growing. Just like us. Jake felt a warmth spread through his heart. It was a simple seedling, yet to Mia, it was an entire world. She was full of hope and possibility just as he aimed to be. He smiled, kneeling beside her to marvel at her handiwork. You did an amazing job, Mia. This is going to be the biggest sunflower in the whole city. As he spoke, he felt his father's eyes on him, the challenge hanging between them like an unfinished sentence. This moment was everything Jake wanted: connection, growth, purpose. But how could he bring his father in? The knot in his stomach tightened again. Jake, his father said, his voice softer now, as though the presence of the children had softened the edges of his prior resolve. You have talent. You could do so much more with that scholarship. You have opportunities. Jake said, standing up, frustration bubbling to the surface again. What about these opportunities? Each kid here is a chance to teach, to inspire. Am I just supposed to turn my back on them? On this? He waved his hand towards the vibrant garden where laughter rang out like music. His father sighed, a sound filled with a weight that suggested he wanted to say more but was struggling to find the right words. I just want you to succeed, son, and it's hard to watch you risk it all. Jake glimpsed the unresolved conflict within his father, a reflection of his own internal battle. Here they stood at this crossroads, both longing for connection yet tethered by fear and misunderstanding. Do you trust me? Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper, the question hanging heavy in the air. If I could show you how much this means to me, would you understand? For a moment, their eyes locked, each searching the other's face for a glimmer of hope, a flicker of understanding. Slowly, his father nodded, the fierce lines on his face softening visually. Okay, son. Show me. Show me what this garden means to you. Jake felt a surge of anticipation. Let us gather everyone, he said, excitement bubbling to the surface like the plants sprouting around them. I want you to meet each kid. They each have a story. They each have dreams. As they walked back towards the cluster of children, a sense of purpose washed over Jake. Maybe this could be the bridge he needed to cross into a newer understanding with his father. Maybe they could share the joy that blossomed in the garden, together. The laughter grew louder as more kids began to join them, each one adorned with hands stained and shirts specked with dirt, an emblem of their shared work. For a moment, all the worries faded. Jake focused only on the joy surrounding him. But as he began to share Mia's story, and then quickly moved to others, he noticed a shadow fall across his father's face again. Something was weighing on him, a darkness lurking beneath his resolve. Just then, David cleared his throat beside them, face bright with hope, and asked, Dad, how did you and Mom start your garden? Jake's heart hitched. Not only had David walked into the fray, but he had also unknowingly ignited a well-guarded memory. The question hung there, a catalyst for both Jake's journey and his father's hidden past. Would their father's memories of joy reshape their reality today? Or would old fears overshadow the potential for healing and understanding? Jake's heart raced, sensing the shift in the air, the very moment that could lead them back to each other or push them further apart. Dad? He whispered, the electricity in the air filling with possibility. Tell us? All eyes turned to their father, anticipation buzzing like a live wire. Jake held his breath, praying for a revelation that could finally mend the fractures in their family. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as his father's gaze fell to the ground. The silence stretched, a tangible tension that wound itself tightly around them. He could see the wheels turning in his father's mind, memories flickering like old film reels behind his eyes. With a deep breath, his father finally spoke. It wasn't easy, starting that garden, he said, his voice low. I remember your mother and I could barely keep plants alive. We had to learn everything from scratch. But the idea of creating something together, that pulled us through. Jake felt an electric surge. This was the door opening, a glimpse into a shared past they had never truly discussed. He leaned in, eager for more. What else? What did you learn? His father glanced around at the children, who were now waiting intently, their little hands gripping the earth as though it held all their hopes. We learned about patience, and failure. A garden doesn't grow overnight, he said. Sometimes, dreams can take a long time. The words resonated like music. Jake could feel the weight of those lessons settling on his shoulders. He could see the joy in his father's eyes, a brightness that hadn't been there moments before. Do you think we could grow something together? Jake asked, the question surprising even him. For the first time, a small smile tugged at his father's lips. Maybe, he said slowly, as if testing the word on his tongue. But it also means tending to the roots, making sure they're strong. David beamed up at his grandfather, fists clenched with excitement. Can we plant flowers together? I want to make it beautiful. The children chimed in, voices blending into a hopeful chorus. Jake watched as his father took in their enthusiasm. It was as if the warmth and innocence in the air were gradually melting barriers built over years of misunderstanding. Sure, his father said, almost hesitantly. Why not start with something small, like a few daisies? Mia, excitement radiating from her, ran over and hugged her grandfather. You'll love it. The surprise on his father's face was priceless. He stood a little straighter, as if lifting the weight of his doubts, if only for a moment. Okay then, Jake's father said, almost as if he'd been swept into the children's joy. His smile grew broader, and Jake secretly reveled in the glow of his father's renewed spirit. As they prepared to plant the first seeds together, an unspoken agreement passed between them: the garden would be their new connection, a place for healing. Yet, deep within, Jake felt a flicker of worry. Would planting these flowers truly mend what had been broken? Jake, his father said as they knelt together in the soil, I just want you to know. Before he could finish, the sudden ringing of a cell phone interrupted. His father's expression morphed into one of urgency, and Jake couldn't shake the sense of foreboding creeping back in. The moment hung in the air like unspoken words, a fragile peace threatened by the call of reality. Dad? Jake's voice was laced with concern. I have to take this, his father said, his tone shifting as he stepped away, hands fumbling with his phone. The warmth between them flickered, and for a tense moment, Jake could almost feel the old shadows rising. As his father spoke quietly, Jake turned back to the children. Every laugh, every gleeful shout felt like a lifeline he couldn't let go. But he couldn't shake the unease in his chest either. What news awaited his father? Would it pull them apart again, or was this their chance to truly grow something beautiful between them? Jake felt the weight of time pressing heavily against them, and as he caught David's hopeful gaze, he promised himself he would fight to keep this moment alive, no matter what lay ahead. The stakes were high, but he was ready to nurture whatever flowers could bloom from it. Just then, his father hung up, expression unreadable. We have to talk, he said, voice firm and steady, bringing with it a charge of uncertainty. Jake felt every nerve ending on high alert, knowing they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. About what, Dad? Jake whispered, his heart racing as their worlds began to shift once more. Jake's mind raced, his heart pounding harder than ever. What could this be about? His father's face, usually so composed, now wore a mask of tension. The cheerful, vibrant atmosphere from moments ago faded, replaced with a dense sense of foreboding. The garden and its promise seemed to shrink around him. Let us step outside, his father suggested, nodding his head towards the edge of the park where the trees stood tall and still. Jake exchanged quick glances with David and Mia, both of whom sensed the shift and quieted their chatter. They followed closely, the children trailing behind, their eyes darting back and forth between the adults. Outside of the crowd's laughter and joy, the air felt heavy with anxiety. Jake's father took a deep breath, as if gathering strength from within. He looked at Jake, his gaze steady but embered with urgency. Jake, I wish I could have said this when we were planting, but things have changed. I haven't been honest with you. The words hung between them, palpable and sharp. A butterfly flitted by, completely unaware of the storm brewing below. Jake could only nod, finding it hard to breathe. What do you mean? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His father ran a hand through his hair, a gesture all too familiar. It's about the company. There are some issues. Some people I've trusted have. He hesitated, searching for the right words. It might put my job in jeopardy. And by extension, our family. Jake's stomach dropped. The precariousness of their financial situation had always loomed in the background. He managed to ignore it, focusing instead on the budding relationships around him. "Dad, what are you saying?" The children had caught up and stood wide-eyed, not fully understanding the shift in their father's tone. David glanced up with concern. "Is everything okay?" "Everything is going to be fine," Jake's father reassured, though his eyes betrayed him. "But I need you to know, this could change everything. I might have to make hard choices." Jake's breath hitched. What sort of choices? He felt muscles tighten along his jaw. Instinctively, the notion of abandonment curled its way back into his mind, memories of past struggles flooding in. "You mean leaving again?" "Not like before." The firmness in his father's voice was laced with desperation, as if he knew the weight of those words. "I just want to ensure we're prepared. And I'd like us to face this together." The children lingered, oblivious to the heavy emotions swirling around them. They tugged at flowers and gathered dirt the way only kids could, unaware of the reality enveloping their family. Jake felt torn, wanting to shield them from the truth, but knowing they deserved to understand too. Jake looked back at his father, who was visibly shaking off the facade of certainty. "What do we need to do?" "We'll work through it together." His father nodded, determination sparking to life. "That's the spirit. We need to stay united, like the garden we're about to plant. We can't let weeds choke out our hope." Jake could see something shifting in his father's demeanor, a glimmer of resolve, perhaps. But overwhelming doubt loomed as he wondered how resilient they could really be when pushed to the edge. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows, a newfound weight settled over the moment. The garden felt like a fragile promise, capable of nourishing their relationship, but also as delicate as the life of the flowers they were just beginning to nurture. "Let us go back," Jake finally said, heart still racing from uncertainty, but now wanting to reclaim the brightness. "We'll plant those daisies. We'll take it one step at a time." Just as he turned, his phone buzzed in his pocket, a sudden reminder of the outside world crashing back in. He pulled it out, reading the screen, an unsettling chill creeping up his spine. It was a text from work. Things were about to get complicated. "Dad, wait." Jake called, a sense of foreboding consuming him. What if this is just the beginning? As the weight of the moment threatened to pull them into another darkness, Jake clenched his fists. He could almost feel the roots taking hold, intertwining their destinies. But was it enough? Could they really grow together, or was the soil too barren? Jake's heart raced as he stared at his phone. The text from work was concise but chilling. "We need to talk about your father's situation. Urgent." He swallowed hard, glancing at his father, who was still trying to steady his expression. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on Jake, making it hard to breathe. "Let us go back to the picnic," his father said, attempting to steer the conversation away from the chaos threatening to envelop them. "We've still got a bit of sunlight left, and the kids know, Dad." Jake interrupted, his voice sharper than he intended. "We can't pretend everything is fine." His father's brow furrowed, and Jake could feel the tension shifting. "Jake. I know you're trying to protect us," Jake said, a mix of frustration and desperation rushing out, "but we need to face this. What's happening at work? You can't just brush it aside." The air thickened with unspoken fears. Jake could see his father's hands tremble slightly, the tension spiraling into something darker. "It's complicated, son," he finally admitted, looking down as if he wished the ground would swallow him whole. "Then make it simple," Jake urged, his voice calm despite the storm brewing inside him. "You always told me that honesty is crucial. We can't defeat what we don't face together." The plea hung in the air, and the children's laughter felt miles away. He could see that glimmer of determination flicker back in his father's eyes, but it was overshadowed by something deeper: shame? Fear? Jake didn't know. With a resigned sigh, his father finally spoke. There are allegations of misconduct at the company, things I never thought would happen. I trusted those people, but now. He hesitated, shaking his head as if to clear the thoughts tangled in his mind. Now, some of them are pointing fingers. It could ruin everything. Reality crashed down on Jake like a cold wave. The air around them felt electric, charged with confusion and concern. So, you might lose your job, he said. But why would they do this? Why now? A long silence followed as his father searched for the right words. Power, greed. People become different when a lot is at stake. I should have seen the signs, Jake. That doesn't mean I won't stand by you, Jake insisted, his emotional grip tightening. We're a team. We can tackle this like we tackle everything else, right? Just like the garden. His father looked at him, surprise and pride battling for dominance in his expression. You're right, he said slowly. I've always admired that about you. But the truth is, this might not just jeopardize my job. It could affect our entire family's future. The weight of those words hit Jake hard. His shoulders slumped a little as he took a breath. I want to help you. Let us figure this out together. I promise you, we won't let anyone tear us apart. Just then, Mia and David approached, their faces innocent and unaware of the heaviness. Can we plant the daisies now? They look pretty. David exclaimed, clutching a handful of dirt like it was a treasure. Mia nodded enthusiastically, her eyes wide with excitement. Yeah. We want our flowers to bloom before summer. Jake couldn't help but smile at their energy. It was a moment of sweetness amidst the chaos swirling around them. Okay. Yes, let us plant them. He felt his father's hand on his shoulder, a silent understanding passing between them. They couldn't change what was happening above ground, but maybe, just maybe, they could nurture what was rooted in love and trust. As they all knelt in the soft earth, Jake's phone buzzed again. He stole a glance at the screen, another message. His heart sank. This one was worse. We need to meet. Things are moving quickly, and you might have to decide soon. Jake, are you all right? His father's voice broke in, pulling him from the edge of his racing thoughts. Jake nodded, but uncertainty prickled at him, urging him to prepare for a fight he wasn't sure they were ready to face. Yeah, I'm fine, he lied, fighting against the tide of rising fear. As the children giggled, planting the daisies with abandon, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the storm was just beginning. What were the choices ahead, and how would they shape their family? The roots of their connection would be tested like never before, and he felt the ground trembling beneath them. Dad, he said suddenly, the sound of his voice mingling with the rustling leaves, what if we lose everything? What will we do? Jake realized then that hope might be their only shield. But would it be enough? As Jake gnashed the soil, the kids bubbled around him with excitement, blissfully unaware of the weight pressing down on the adults. He pushed aside his fears, drawing strength from the laughter of the children planting daisies. Their eagerness was a spark in the shadows. This garden, this moment, he had to believe it was a foundation they could build upon. Jake, his father said again, voice steady, yet tinged with worry. Whatever happens up there, remember, this garden just like life requires patience. We can regrow, rebuild. Jake paused, turning to meet his father's gaze. Each word felt significant, reverberating deep. You're right, he acknowledged, a surge of hope sparking inside him. Together, we can weather any storm. We just have to tend to our roots. I'll stand by your side, no matter how rocky the path ahead. The sincerity in his father's voice wrapped around Jake like a warm blanket. It was not just a promise, it was a bond rekindling. We can create change for the community, Jake added, emboldened. But we need to show them we're united. The children squealed in glee as they finished planting, and soon, the space teemed with energy. Focusing on the joyful chatter, Jake felt the tension in his chest begin to loosen. He knelt beside Mia, wiping the dirt from his hands, and gave her an encouraging nod. "Our garden will grow, Mia. Just like us." Mia smiled, her eyes sparkling with innocence. "And we'll make it beautiful." She took a moment before adding, "Mr. Jake, will you teach us how to take care of it?" "Absolutely. We'll nurture it, just like family." As Jake responded, a flicker of inspiration lit his heart. This was more than just a garden, it was a haven for every child like Mia, a chance to give them skills and dreams. His father stepped into the space, throwing himself into the experience. "How about we host a community event? Invite everyone to share their knowledge. We can make this a community project, together." The energy erupted with cheers from the kids. "Yes!" they shouted, hands flying in excitement. "Let us do it." David chimed in, every bit the enthusiastic supporter now, as if he too had discovered something new in himself. But doubt crept in as Jake noticed his father's expression. Would they stand united when faced with the outside world's harsh realities? Moments later, with the last seed planted, the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue over them. "Let us take a picture," David suggested, pulling everyone close together. With smiles wide and hearts full, they crowded against each other in front of their new garden, a snapshot of hope against the uncertainties that loomed ahead. "Now, how do we turn this into a real event?" Jake asked, turning serious. "To inspire others?" His father squared his shoulders, determination sparking in his eyes. "We can start by reaching out to local businesses for sponsorships, and I have a couple of friends who might be interested in connecting." Jake felt a rush of adrenaline. "Great! Let's create a community gathering where everyone is encouraged to share their skills, their stories. We can even set up workshops." As the sun set, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange, Jake believed in their newfound purpose. The shadows of doubt were still present, but they began to recede, overtaken by the collective light they were creating. Later that night, as Jake stepped onto his balcony overlooking the city, he breathed in the cool night air, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. The fears once tightly woven into his heart were loosening, bit by bit. He knew the road ahead would still be rocky. His father's situation loomed large, and uncertainty surrounded them like a storm cloud. Yet there was something different now, a flicker of faith guiding him. Maybe it was the strength of community. Maybe it was the love they shared as a family. Whatever it was, it drove him to take that leap of faith again, into a future that felt just within reach. As he closed his eyes, envisioning the garden bustling with laughter and growth, he felt inspired to fight for the connections that mattered most. With his heart full, Jake felt that tomorrow would be the start of something transformative for all of them. Each step forward would plant new seeds, each challenge would test their roots, but they would grow together. And for the first time in years, Jake Sullivan felt alive. Remember, real success is not just measured in dollars but in love, connection, and community. So, if you enjoyed this journey of renewal and hope, you need to subscribe now to our channel. Hit that button and join us for more stories that inspire real change and heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the positive energy flowing. I want to hear from you. Comment below with your thoughts on this ending and what transformation means to you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who could use a reminder about the power of community and love. Your support matters. Together, we can make a ripple of change.